Ecam fam. Ecam fam is the name of the jam.
Hold it, stop the music!
Ladies and gentlemen.
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 Can I please have your attention?
Now showtime, are you ready? Are you ready for start time?
Let's find out. Ready, let's go.
Yes. Hello, good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? I am excited to have you all coming today. So let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes, as I always say. Lion Flood first as an introduction, and I want to know how are you doing first off and where you're coming in from. If you're viewing this on the live, or even if you do this on a replay, you're going to get some great content today because our guest is coming for something that I think we all can absolutely use, but especially me. And you all know, truthfully, honestly, most of the times when I bring someone on, it's because they do something that I want to learn, and I need to learn how to organize myself. But part of that is my ADHD brain. I live in chaos and sometimes it's comfortable, but I want to learn better workflow. And today we have Neil coming on, and he's a fellow Ecamm user and efficient and proficient at it. So I love watching his work as well. But before we begin, little kind of housekeeping things. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Even though this is live, we love engagement. And if there's something specific that you want to know about that maybe Neil can answer or direct you into that way, hey, we still want to know about it. We love engagement. A small way to do that is to put a queue if you have questions with a colon and then write your question. What that does is that absolutely helps us separate comments from questions so we don't get bogged down in seeing which one is which, and we can separate the questions and know specifically how to get yours. Neil may answer them during that part of it if there's any questions, or he just may do it at the end. But the one thing we want to do is not interrupt his workflow because he can do it. So, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our esteemed guest on. Neil, how are you doing today, sir?
Hey, Lion. I'm very well, thank you. Really nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me on to your show.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to have it. We've spoken for a while, and in in Ecamm group, and for me, I've said this several times. The community for me is probably one of the absolute best things about Ecamm because to have people to call on to help. Wow. What about yourself? Can you let the audience know a little bit about who you are and some things about yourself as well first before we begin?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks again, Lion, for having me on your show. Well, my name is Neil Faramond. I am a semi-retired IT consultant who's been working in the IT industry about 35 years. And I have a passion for video and music production. And I stumbled upon Ecamm about a year and a half ago and sort of fell in love with the software. I'm a big Mac user. And recently I've been sort of taking part in doing more workflow pieces of work and supporting the Ecamm group in the Facebook group and Discord. And I've also created a few videos recently for Ecamm on basic run of show and how to set up Ecamm and things like that. So I'm actually based in Portugal. And yeah, it's just great to be in the community and working with great people like Lion and the rest of the team. And as Lion said, it's just a fantastic community to learn, to share ideas, and to gain knowledge. And that's what we're here for. And I'm still learning just like everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the great things of like I'll see people who will come in and it's pretty much 24/7, of course, because people are in different parts of the world or whatever. But
Right.
for the most part, if you ask your question, because some programs and software stuff that will remain nameless, you can write in and say, hey, I have an issue, I can't get this
Right.
resolved. And it's understandable. It's a business. They may get back to you within 48 hours or something like that. And sometimes that can happen. You get bogged down. But to have over, I think there's 20 something thousand people in the group, and
Right.
to say,
Yeah.
hey guys, look, I have this issue. I don't know how to do this. And more people are so open to say, hey, you know what? Maybe just hop on a call with me because I physically need to see it or something like that. It's amazing. So I appreciate that. Now, I love seeing some of your videos. And that's what inspired me to say, you know what? I saw your video on the Ecamm portal and I said, yo, we got to dig into this deeper. So I absolutely love it. I'm going to give you the floor here, and you take over and do your thing. And then if there's any questions,
Thank you.
just try to moderate it, and then kind of focus in on that.
Sure.
But ladies and gentlemen, pay attention, and let's get ready to rock and roll. Let's do it. It is yours. I'm going to give you the floor.
All right. Thanks a lot, Lion. So yeah, thanks everybody. So today I just wanted to take you through a couple of steps on even before creating either your live stream or video or pre-recorded content. It's really important to be organized and be structured and have an idea about what you want to actually talk about and discuss in your show. And that's typically something that's called a run of show. And a run of show is, well, simply that. It's based back. Oh, there you go. Let me just stop that one sec. There you go. Even my workflow just broke there for a second because my presentation stopped working. But anyway, sorry. A run of show is simply a plan of how your show is going to flow from start to finish. So think of it as a storyboard. If you were creating a film, you'd have a storyboard, a sort of a selection of different scenes, a sequence of scenes that you would run through from beginning to end to either tell your story or to show how the actual show is going to flow when you sort of start recording, all the way through to maybe having a guest on or something like that, all the way through to closing out the show. So even before you start to create scenes in things like Ecamm or OBS or your tool of choice, think about how you're going to plan your show out and what that show is going to look like from your audience's perspective. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to tell a story, you're trying to tell some sort of idea, concept, whether it be a presentation or even having guests on. You want to make sure that your show runs smoothly with a right workflow and to make sure everything looks as you planned. So with regards to use cases, where can I use a run of show, a plan? Well, actually, you can use it anywhere that you have recorded content. It doesn't have to be video specific. You can have a run of show for an audio podcast. For example, you need to plan out what you're going to talk about in your podcast and how that's going to look. And specifically for things like live streams, where it is live and things can go wrong and so on, you want to have a flow, a plan of how that live stream is going to look, and then how you're going to build your respective scenes and sequentially go through each of those scenes as you plan your live stream. Now, I do a run of show also for some of my recorded content, because obviously if I'm presenting some material, whether it be an application, whether it be a presentation like I'm doing now, I still have to have an idea about what I'm trying to do and how I'm going to get that recorded content looking as good as it possibly can. And with recorded content, as you know, you can edit, you can do various different things, but I still like to have a little plan and a run of show to do that. For online courses, it's even more important, because for an online course, you're taking your audience through various steps and teaching them, whether it be, for an application or a specific service. You want to make sure that you're taking them through this course in a structured manner and building upon that knowledge every time they go to your course or go through your next section. So a run of show effectively can be used for anything from a webinar, a course, a podcast, or a live stream. So I tend to use the run of show format for everything that I typically do. So what content should you have in a live stream or a run of show? So these are the types of things to think about when you're planning your show. So is your show just going to be you as a talking head, solo person, just talking about a particular subject matter for 20 minutes? Or are you going to bring on graphics and overlays and points to reinforce the messages that you're talking about, even with a talking head video? It could be just a simple line of text, it could be a little graphic, it could be some sort of visual representation of what you're actually trying to present. Now, if you're having a guest, as Lion's done today by having me on there, then you'll need to think about setting up your guest scenes, making sure that your guest comes on early, preparing that guest and making sure that they are able to share their content properly and preparing for that. If you're doing an interview with somebody, then you probably will have to have some interview questions and preparation ready for that as well. And if you're presenting material, are you going to be presenting it in a keynote format? Are you going to be using Canva, which I'm using today? Are you going to be using just a series of different graphic images and things like that for presenting material? And then at the end of every show, you should really have a call to action. What do you want your audience to do after the show is over? Do you want them to subscribe to your newsletter, for example? Do you want them to subscribe to your YouTube channel? Or do you want them to get more engaged with you on another platform? Maybe go over to Discord, maybe show them some area that you've got some additional expertise in that you want to guide them and take them to. So there should always be some form of call to action or CTA at the end of every show as part of your run of show workflow. And it's really important really to leave the audience with something that they can either take away, whether it be a PDF download or, as I said, subscribe to a different part of your social network or something like that. So these are the sort of types of things that you should be thinking about when you're creating your run of show, and the types of things you should be creating as part of your workflow in your live stream or your recorded content. So what does a typical running order within a run of show look like? So I've just created a few little graphics here to show you. So first of all, you should always have a little introduction. As you saw, Lion had a countdown timer with some fancy graphics and music and him dancing and things. And that's really important to introduce part of the show. So this could be a countdown, it could be an introduction graphic, or something like that. The next thing would be, to have you as the host, as your main camera to start with, introducing the show, introducing the person that may be a guest on your show, or even introducing the topic of conversation for the day and your presentation. Maybe a third thing you want to have is an actual presentation like I'm doing right now. So in my runner show, I had my sort of main camera, as you saw. Then I went to the presentation, as I'm doing now. So again, this is a consideration for having a particular scene in your runner show to add to that. Something else you might want is, like today, we've got a guest on this show. So you'll have to have a guest scene, maybe the scene configured for that guest, maybe you and the guest side by side, so you can have a chat like Lion just did just before we went into that main presentation. And then if something goes wrong, you might want to consider having something called a be right back screen. So, for example, if it's a long stream, or if there's something goes wrong with your presentation, you might want to cut to a be right back screen, which is basically something that has a little bit of music playing, all the microphones are muted, while you got yourself settled and fix whatever issue you may have. If it's live streaming, then lots of things can go wrong. As you just saw with me, I just pressed the wrong button. So if that was a catastrophic thing where then I lost my presentation, maybe Lion would have had to go to a be right back screen or go back to him talking whilst I get myself sorted out. So it's a safeguard. It's a little safety net to have just in case something goes wrong. And then finally, you want to have, as I mentioned, an outro. A thank you for joining, a call to action, where can they subscribe, where can they find more about you, and have some call to action at the end of that running order. So this is like a very simple running order that I typically use. And I've just got one more example with a bigger graphic and what that running order may look like. So here we have a couple of other things. We have a guest here, and then a guest and a host, as you can see. And then also we have this be right back screen. Maybe we have a separate comments scene, for example, in your run of show, as well as having maybe additional thumbnail at the beginning of the show where you can tell the audience what it's all about. And that's what I typically do on my shows. I'll have a little thumbnail without a countdown timer, which will be like maybe 10 seconds. Then I'll go straight into me and then do our run of show from there. But it's a personal choice. There's no right or wrong way to start a show, but just be mindful that just have some consideration about what you may want to have in there, and just think about how you want to build out your show. And if your show is the same every time, then you can just templatize this run of show for every show that you do. So once you've got your scene set up, you've got your overlays how you want, and you've got your guest set up, then you can just save, specifically in Ecamm, a profile, and therefore that will be your template for your run of show. And you can have multiple different shows in Ecamm or OBS and have different multiple profiles. So if you've got a shorter show where you may just have yourself and one thing that you want to present, your run of show may look slightly different. But the point is to always have a plan, always have a structure, and always look about how your run of show is going to flow. My last slide, really, before we go into any questions, is what does my run of show look like on Ecamm? You could argue that it looks quite messy, but what I have here, it might be a little bit small for you to see. I'm unable to zoom in on this side from my side, but effectively all I have is a thumbnail and a main camera, and then I've got different types of camera setups and different scenes. And then the great thing about Ecamm is that you can actually nest these scenes in groups. As you see here, I've got one because I've got a show coming up later for an application called Beatsheet. So I'm going to put all my scenes in there and sort of categorize them and organize them. So you don't have to have a huge long list of scenes in one big flow all the time. You can break these scenes up and put them into containers, into folders, and have a better structure of your run of show. So that's effectively, in a nutshell, very, very quickly, what I wanted to talk to you about today. So, Lion, I'm happy to go back to you now and have a chat if you want, but that's basically what I wanted to share with you, and hopefully that's a little bit useful in a nutshell around how to organize and structure your show.
It's more than useful, and just even from that there, I had my little pencil and pad. I was still taking notes, and because I am a complete mess. You just said a second ago, you was like, okay, this might look a little messy. And I was like, that looks neat compared to mine. If you see my back of my screen, it's crazy. And one of the things that you were speaking in there, you said in reference to eCam and so forth, right? Because of the ease of use. And that's one big main reason. I'm a Mac user, absolutely love it, recommend it. And I tell anyone, if you own a Mac and you do any type of virtual presentations for whatever it is and you don't have eCam, I don't understand, especially for the cost effectiveness of what it is. I don't know why you don't if you're using some other system. I do understand a PC. And you mentioned something earlier as well. I have been learning or trying to learn OBS just because I get a lot of questions of people, hey, what's on your screen? How are you doing all that? But I don't have
Right.
a Mac. So trying to learn OBS. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to breathe.
Yeah.
It's
It's a bit of a different learning curve, right? OBS compared to eCam.
yeah, eCam is just so much easier. Even to the point where you were saying just now about, hey, it's live. Anything can happen. I get it. When I was switching scenes a second ago, because I was learning OBS, I had my music set on different scenes and stuff. So I didn't have it set
Right.
to go mute it. And so when I switched scenes, I was like, oh, the music's on. But it was just so quick and easy to adjust it within eCam versus some other systems. And man, just the way you presented how effective you can make your workflow, which makes you less stressed, which then in
Yeah.
turn makes your presentation potentially run smoother. Can you kind of
Right.
maybe mention that, how that, kind of works for you there in that manner?
Well, yeah. I mean, in terms of when I'm creating a flow, it's helping me drive the content. It's helping me drive what I want to say throughout that. Now, it doesn't have to be a full blown presentation. You can have little guide notes, talking points that'll help you create this workflow, this better structure. For me specifically, um, I need to have structure and order in my life when it comes to creating these streams. And as I mentioned, even with the recorded content, I'll basically build some, even if it's just a workflow in a notebook of what I'm going to talk through. And then I may have that in my Apple Notes app to one side, for example, that I can just reference. Or you could even, as we're using today, everybody pretty much likes to use a teleprompter. A teleprompter is a great way of just having some notes right in front of you. So obviously you can see yourself to have that confidence camera, and then have those notes up as well as these little talking points to help you through that. But I've always, even in my work back in the days of IT and so on, we all talk about death by PowerPoint, but there is, especially when you're presenting some technical type of material and things like that, it's always important to know what your next slide is going to be, what your next talking point is going to be. It helps you, it helps build my confidence specifically about knowing what I want to talk about. I couldn't just freeform this without having any sort of guide notes or things to think about. And people, many people are different. Some people can just have everything in their head, talk off the cuff, make it sound really, really good. But a lot of the time, I just need at least some talking points to go through to make sure that I'm on point. And I'm also keeping in time, because there's nothing worse than having, a live stream that you're presenting and it goes completely off the rails because you follow a tangent, you may get caught up in a question, and then you don't actually know what you were talking about. So having a reference point to go back to, so it keeps you in line with your timing and what the structure of the show is going to be, I think is how I specifically use these run of shows or talking points, or having some sort of notes to help me out.
Man, it soothes my soul hearing it. I'm just like, I need to get to that place. I need to get to that Zen place, because I'd be running with a chicken with my
Right.
head cut off. But in some ways, kind of like you said, people have it in their head. That kind of adrenaline rush kind of helps me because I have ADHD brain, and so I need it,
Right.
going here and there.
Yeah.
But last thing I touch on really quick, and then we'll kind of wrap it up from that point, is I also took into account the fact that you're a user, a fellow eCam user, and then I saw your work and seeing everything else. So when we mentioned it, I didn't prep as well as I would have done if it was someone who I've never seen or dealt with. For example, I would have been the one that suggested, hey, let's come on 15, 20 minutes earlier. Let's check audio. Let's do this, that, and the other. I just had it in my mind, oh, he's a fellow ECAM user. We spoke before, but we still came on 10 minutes earlier to check audio and then
Right.
check some of the
Yeah.
scenes. And also, this is one of those things that we talked about with ease of use. That's a big thing for me. Ladies and gentlemen, you didn't see the behind the scenes thing if you're watching this here, right? So there were some things when we first came on, we was like, hey, let's adjust this screen. This one isn't fitting here. And it was done within a few, no, I don't even want to say minutes. It was done like within a minute or two. It was
Right.
so
Right.
easy to adjust if a guest came on and their screen. And now fellow ECAM users, so you're knowledgeable, but still, you have the ability to switch things so quickly and easily. And even though I have so much stuff going on, I only have three scenes, right? I just have me, well, the
Right.
opening, kind of like you said. Then I have me, then I have my guest, and then I have the guest screen, and then I have the ending. So, but I only really use three. Is my point. I'm not overwhelmed. I don't, and some other systems that I gotta be looking and checking and stuff. So, yeah. Any final parting words you may want to share with anyone who sees this either now or on a replay, and then tell people how they can maybe get in touch with you, work with you, or anything they can reach out for you as well.
Sure. I mean, the only thing I would say is that I do recordings for other people as a remote producer. That's some of the things I do and help with, and it never. Just to your point, Lion, about having a guest on and doing a bit of preparation. Yes, I'm a fellow Ecamm user and I know how to use the software, but even so, microphone checks, audio checks, making sure you can hear me, I can hear you, and you can see what I'm actually wanting to present is all part of the process. And as a remote live producer, I produce quite a few people's different stuff, and it's really interesting. I've got a customer that I work with where he has a podcast, a video podcast that he records, and it never fails to surprise me that everybody who will come on his show have a completely different setup. Right? Some people may just use their Mac speakers and their Mac microphone. They don't have a microphone. They don't have any headphones. They have their webcam. Some people have a great camera but no microphone. So it's really important, even if you're having a guest on, and it's specifically with a live show, it's easier in my case because I'm doing a lot of recorded material. But if it's a live show like we did, you have to come on early and prep, and just in case, because with all the best will in the world, you may not be able to present that material because of some constraint, maybe some things not working. So 10 minutes for me is okay between you and I, but when I'm working with other people, I ask them to come on at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes before, just to make sure that everything's set up, because they may need to reconfigure something, and that might take some time. They may have to reboot their machine and things like that. So that's all I would say is don't underestimate the amount of time it might take when you're doing a live show to get things set up and working. I'd rather spend 30 minutes longer prepping somebody and getting everything ready than going in 10 minutes before the show and it all going wholly wrong and keeping your audience waiting. Because especially if you're live, you don't want to do that. Anyway, so where people can find me, really easy. You just go to my YouTube channel. It's Neil Faramond. I'm on the socials, Twitter and things like that. Just Neil Faramond is my name. And if you want to come on my show or have a chat and do stuff and learn about things, I'm also in the Ecamm forum as well. I'm in the Ecamm group, so I'll do pop-in shows from time to time. They're called pop-up practices. There's more people doing that right now, so you might see me in there from time to time at random times of the day, just helping people out with things. So yeah, happy to help
Yeah, that's a
anybody
great
who
idea.
needs it.
Thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for anyone to do remote producing, you've seen Neil's work, and I was still astounded by it because even down to the small point here of like how you're presenting everything on your end that you've set up, but again, the ease of how you brought in your presentation instead of having to share the screen and do all the stuff and then not looking as
Yeah.
professional on Zoom and all that. But definitely, I digress. I won't go into that. But I will show you one funny thing in reference to the Be Right Back screens that you were referencing, right? So I
Right.
have a Be Right Back screen as well. Mine has some motion to keep people kind of looking. But I have this screen. Let's see if I can show it on this one here. It should be able to show. I don't know if I have it to show all scenes on this one, but I'll show it to you on the other one. So, anyways, I have a screen. So if I'm in a Zoom presentation, mostly Zoom, or if I'm in a whatever kind of a meeting, let's see. I'm gonna put this one up. Let's see if it works. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is my screen of when I'm in a meeting and I'm just like needing to look away, see something or whatever. I just
That's
like, you know,
fantastic.
just need to look away, do whatever. And I just sit there with some continuous motion of moving every once in a while, you know, and whatnot.
That's
So,
hilarious. That's hilarious. I love that.
and no one ever noticed. No one, and then sometimes someone may ask me a question and then I'll remove it and I'll go, you know what? Yeah, absolutely. So,
That's really funny because yeah, you just flip those screens over. That's fantastic. I love that. And you could just be having a cup of coffee. You could just be out the back. It doesn't matter. You could be having a swim.
yep. Yeah. So I was like, I just wanted to create something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna do a couple pop-ups in the group as well. And that's another great thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you listen to this, Ecamm is so welcoming. You get to practice in there. You get to ask anything. Like Neil just said, he does a pop-up
Exactly.
or whatever. And so forth. And then I'm gonna go practice the new updates. Have you seen that one with the perspective?
Yeah, just last night. Yeah, I mean they're so good, right, at doing these updates. So I had a quick look. I'm like, oh, that could be something interesting, you know. So again, it's something else to play with, but with new features come more questions. So yeah, absolutely.
All right, great. Hold on for one quick second. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, and then I'll be right back with you, sir. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, thank you all for tuning in again. Thank you so much. If you were watching this on a replay again, send some questions, get in contact with Neil. If you're looking for different perspectives of how to increase your workflow or having someone maybe remote produce your event or your show, if you're an event planner or a live production crew, whatever, hey, get in touch and see some different ways to look at it. Thank you so much. And until next time, make sure you continue to push and keep working to do whatever you're looking for. And the call to action, like Neil said, make sure you check us out normally on Mondays at 11 a.m. LinkedIn Lives. Tuesday, we do have our morning mindset reset, which we just push to kind of say, hey, let's go ahead and focus on whatever kind of tactics we need to do to increase our business. Then, of course, on Wednesdays, we are pushing forward to our YouTube Lives, 11 a.m. Eastern as well. So make sure you check those out. Follow us on all of our socials as well. And we will talk to you again. All right. Thank you so much. Keep redesigning your life and living while you are alive. And then here comes that end screen scene. Try saying that 5 times fast. YouTube Lives, 11 a.m. Eastern as well. So make sure you check those out. Follow us on all of our socials.
Live your life within the moment.